definitely got some quality defensive pressure, and that is actually something that Coach Hewitt even mentioned in the press conference today after the game. Was the depth that we have on our roster and how that allows us to increase that defensive pressure.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've talked a little bit all season long, or a lot all season long, about the depth that we have on this team and how that could potentially be a detriment offensively. So we asked Coach Hewitt that earlier. Asked him why or how his depth could potentially contribute to any sort of gain defensively. And he acknowledged that could potentially hinder them offensively, but he likes to throw fresh bodies out there, and 22.5% for the game. You can't argue with that.
No, not at all. And I mean, honestly, it's one of those. If the opposing team's going to shoot less than 25%,
right,
then it's hard to argue against it.
You don't need much of a rhythm on offense.
Right.
I mean, 22.5%.
Yeah, you could score 57 points and win comfortably still.
Right.
So I think it's interesting, how it goes down. And we even mentioned that sometimes it almost you can visibly see that guys just aren't getting into the rhythm, with the exception of Sherrod Wright as he plays. I think he played 34 minutes tonight or something like that. But with the exception of him, he is pretty much the only player that stays in an offensive rhythm. But if the defense is playing as well as we've been playing, then I think you just roll with it.
Yeah, well, what do you think? Do you take the sluggish performances offensively if that means that you're playing well defensively? Because I mean, we talked about it a little bit today that the atmosphere in the Patriot Center, the atmosphere has been subpar at best, and obviously we realize that students are on break and all of that, but it's tough for fans to get into ball games like that. It's tough for fans to get into games where it's just defense, or there's a whistle every 30 seconds, things like that. Again, tonight 41 total fouls, or 40 total fouls rather, in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
The whistle's blowing once a minute.
Right.
At least. Plus you add in all those extra turnovers and stuff like that. It's a slow, sloppy game.
Yeah, and I think it is painful to watch.
Yeah.
And I think that we even mentioned this, that increased rotation that we're seeing may also be causing the fouls. It's almost like the guys are being too active, and it's great to see them be that active. But at the same time, it's almost like, all right, tone it down a little bit. Like we don't need to be slapping their hands every single time they're coming down the court. And I think and Hewitt mentioned it in the press game, the post-game press conference, saying that we got to cut down on the fouls because 31 times sent to the other team.
I wish I had a clicker to count how many times either Coach Hewitt, John Arledge, or Sherrod mentioned we need to stop fouling.
Yeah, and that's the thing that hopefully as the season goes on and as they, kind of discuss this on and get this pounded into their head, that cuts down, because I think that is if there's one thing that's holding this team back, it's you're letting teams stay in the game against you when this game shouldn't even be close when the other team's shooting 22.5%, but send them to the line 31 times is going to do that for them.
Right, and they knock down 23 free throws. That's half their points.
Right.
Half their points they're getting from the free throw lines. They knocked down 11 field goals today. We knocked down 22.
Yeah.
That to me is not a 57 to 46 ball game.
No.
Certainly not an 11-point ball game. That should be about a 20 to 25 point ball game realistically. So it's definitely interesting. I mean, 31 times, as we've mentioned, to the free throw line. We had 25 of those 40 fouls. 25 of those 40 fouls, we didn't get to the line nearly as many times. I think 18 times, 11 for 18 is what we shot today. So we gave up, 12 points. 12 points from the free throw line.
Yeah, and they're giving me points.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be fixed, and I think Hewitt certainly acknowledged it, as we mentioned.
Right. And he mentioned too that when you have that lineup that consistently, you're running guys in and out of there very quickly, it's natural for these guys to think, I have to get in the ball game, I have to score, I have to do something, and you got to wonder, is he missing the boat a little bit with, I got to get in the ballgame and score? They just think, I got to get in the ballgame and do something.
Right.
It's
I got to make a play. I got to.
Right, and that's contributing to the 25 fouls, that we're being whistled on. And we can sit back and we can say, oh, the referees, all we want to, but it's been 25 fouls all season long.
It's been very consistent. Yeah.
So again, let's go down the list. John Arledge tonight, outstanding game. 8.7 rebounds, 2 block shots in 15 minutes. Again, another great game, just like we saw against Old Dominion. Sherrod Wright.
Being Sherrod Wright.
21 points, 5 rebounds. I think that's average. It's about an average game right now for Sherrod.
Typical.
Right. And Johnny Williams on the flip side of that, 0 for 4 tonight, 4 boards in 22 minutes. Most of any of our forwards. That is in minutes. Again, I ask, I think we talked about this the last time, does John Arledge need to be put into that starting rotation? Or at very least, does that 15-minute number need to go up?
Right. And I think I'm a big Johnny Williams fan, but I really think that John Arledge has earned this spot. And I think that he's proven, to get 8.7 boards, 2 block shots, and 15 minutes of play. To me, that is like right what you order up when you sit there and what you're expecting out of a forward play. And you know what? You throw him, 5, 10 more minutes, who knows what he could do. So I think Hewitt has to start looking at that starting lineup and thinking, maybe get Arledge in there, or at the very least, like you said, if you're going to start Johnny, John Arledge definitely has to maybe be getting a little bit more of that, almost kind of like how Anale kind of has that stakeholder position in the starting lineup where he starts the game, but he may not necessarily finish.
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, we go down. Eric Copes, 1 for 5 from the floor tonight, 2 points, or maybe 3 points. I think he had a free throw too. So 3 points, 2 boards in 21 minutes. Certainly, 2 boards is not what you want to see from Eric Copes, but good sign. Coach Hewitt did mention today that he thought Eric was getting healthier and healthier all season long. That this was the first full week with him practicing all week, no problems. But he's got to come back. We need to get this next part down. Right. The 15 offensive boards for Hofstra. We won the battle 40-39, but 15 offensive boards. Eric Copes is the only one on this team, I think, that can correct that.
Yeah, and I think that again, he's only got 2 rebounds in 21 minutes of play. You got to hope that as he starts playing more, getting healthier, as Coach Hewitt was saying, that he's going to kind of be that X factor on the defensive end. Because I think it's almost exciting, really, when you think about it, that our defense is playing as well as it is with a not 100% Eric Copes.
Right.
And I think once he starts turning around, I think if our rebounding turns around, I think come tournament time, we could have a very, very, very good defensive team.
When you see a little more #Copes block party from last season,
I would enjoy that. He had a couple tonight.
He did. He had a couple tonight. But let's take a break real quick. We'll step away. We'll be right back with you here on the Courtside Seats postgame show. Welcome back to the Courtside Seats post-game show. I'm Cody Norman here with Mark Mansdorfer, giving you our keys to success running all season long.
All right, so I'll go ahead and start with mine. First key to success, win the turnover battle. Did a great job today. 12 turnovers for Mason compared to the 15 from Hofstra. Again, going back on the defensive pressure that we've been getting on our opposing teams that we've been facing, as well as limiting our own. So that was a great win for us today. Take and make the 3 is my second one. Not so hot today, 2 of 12 for us. Corey and Sherrod only ones to knock them down versus 1 for 14 out of Hofstra. And the last one, win the rebound battle. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. We won the rebound battle by 1 board, 40-39, but only allowed 15 offensive boards from Hofstra tonight, but led by 7 from John Arledge from us, which I think is definitely showing that John Arledge could potentially be a very important player on this roster going forward.
Yeah, if we can ever sneak John into that starting rotation, along with Eric, get Eric back and healthy, I think that would play a huge role in this team's success moving forward. my 3 keys, number 1, we got to spread the ball, spread the scoring. I've said this all season long, 21 points for Sherrod Wright. Great job from him. Nobody else in double figures. John Arledge and Corey Edwards both sitting at 8 points apiece. Only 8 assists. So that to me, 8 assists to 12 turnovers, that kind of ratio isn't going to do it for me. We need to be able to spread the ball. We need to spread the scoring. Coach Hewitt said it. We are a good team as long as we pass the basketball, and 8 assists just doesn't say I'm passing the basketball to me. Number 2, score in transition, win the transition ball game. 8 fast break points. That's 8 points to Hofstra's goose egg. So we're still, although we've won that, 8 points on 15 turnovers in fast break, it's not enough. Vertrail looked good several times going to the bucket. Didn't necessarily finish, which is something that I think we need to really work on. We're lacking a finisher. We're lacking somebody like a Mike Moe, a Ryan Pearson, somebody who we can find, a big man who runs the floor, and I think John Arledge could be that guy, somebody who can run the floor and finish with some excitement. Number 3, attack the basket, get to the free throw line. We mentioned this earlier. 11 for 18 from Mason. 11 for 18, and I've said it all season long. We've got to get this up to about the number 22, 23 free throws. That's the way we're going to be successful in this conference. We've got to hit about 18 for 22 on the season. That's about what Delaware and Drexel, at least the top 2 competitors coming into this season, that's about where they sit. And 23 for 31 to Hofstra. Again, we surrendered 12 points to Hofstra at the free throw line. That's something we mentioned on the pregame show. That's something that killed us against Bucknell. It's something that's killed us all season long, where we're getting outscored every single night consistently at the free throw line. And to throw a 4th one in there, like I mentioned last week, stop fouling. Stop fouling. There's, again, 25 fouls again tonight. Let me ask you something. We talked about the rotation, and maybe running guys in and out, and how that could potentially affect our defense and slow them up offensively. It's difficult to play with some emotion. It's difficult to play with any fire when you're constantly, 30 seconds into every play, there's a whistle. But I'm having a hard time. I can't figure out why Coach Hewitt has picked up 0 technicals this season.
And there's certainly been some questionable calls.
Right.
So, and you mentioned it today. You see a questionable call, and Hewitt kind of just gives you the shrug, like,
right.
Well, happens kind of thing.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think he needs to show some fire. He needs to do something for these guys to see, all right, coach is mad about that call. I know it's a bad call. He knows it's a bad call.
Right.
Let's get fired up. Let's, make up for it, or, whatever.
Right.
Because sometimes you don't get those calls and they don't go your way, but
right.
Someone's got to get mad.
Now, obviously, we're not advocating he throw a chair onto the floor.
Right.
But we got to see something. You mentioned it earlier when I brought this up to you earlier, that it's similar to a baseball coach being ejected, a manager being ejected from a ball game. It could potentially, serve your team well, get guys fired up, get guys back into the ball game. And I think that's something we're missing. There's a little bit of fire every once in a while.
And I think it's just the personality of this team that we don't have, like we've mentioned, the Mike Moe or the Ryan
right.
Pearson, who's right. loud. We'll just say the very least.
We're very mellow.
Right. They're very loud players, what we experience, throughout our entire time here. And I think that we're almost seeing a team full of guys that almost remind me of like a Cam Long.
Yeah.
And in a sense that, goes in, great player, going to score. It's really how Sherrod is. Goes in, scores his points, but he's not going to sit there and scream and get you all fired up. He's just going to do his job, basically.
Right.
And I think that we need someone or Coach Hewitt to step up and show, that we have emotion
right.
and a personality.
Right. I mean, the one guy who really has, at least in our mind, the one guy who really has, aside from Sherrod, obviously, Corey Edwards. Corey Edwards again tonight, 3 for 4 field goals, 8 points, 1 turnover in 20 minutes. one turnover, 2 assists. Obviously, we want to see that number get up. But how well has Corey played over the last several weeks?
I think Corey has clearly showed that he's the point guard, and has proven to me, when you see one turnover out of your point guard who's handling the ball as much as he is,
right?
That's that's success right there.
Yeah.
So I think that we're going to see less of Brian Allen running the point, and you're going to be seeing much more of Corey Edwards.
Yeah, and that 1-2 set with with Corey at the 1 and Brian at the 2 rather, has been pretty effective. I think it's calmed Brian down, and we certainly haven't seen nearly as many turnovers from him.
Right, and I think we saw a couple of nice plays from Brian today, coming off of picks, in which both guys got caught, and he just drove right around the pick and got a real easy layup come around the side. So I think if you see more of that from Brian, I think offensively maybe we can start getting something going, and not just have the Sherrod Wright show each and every game.
Right. Well, speaking of the Sherrod Wright show, let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights from today's victory. Welcome back to the Courtside Seats post-game show. We're going to take a look at our green and gold stars of the game.
All right, I'll go ahead and start with mine. Real easy one tonight. Again, going back to the Sherrod Wright show tonight. 8 for 18 from the field for Sherrod, 21 points and 34 minutes of play with 5 boards. Again, stat sheet stuffer. Sherrod Wright having a great season, looking like he could potentially bring the CAA Player of the Year award back to Fairfax and repeat after Ryan Pearson won it last year. Sherrod, again, great night.
It seems it's the norm.
It's
terrible when 21 points in college basketball is just like
and you almost don't even get excited about it anymore.
Right. It was very quiet. 21 points, 8 for 18. He did shoot the ball particularly well, but still an average outstanding night for Sherrod Wright. I'm going John Arledge. I think John, as we've mentioned throughout the show, John has played exceptionally well over the last week, 2 weeks, something like that. He's shown glimpses of being a very, very good player for this team. If he could get into a rhythm, I think he's a guy who definitely plays off of that rhythm. He plays off of momentum. And tonight, 2 for 3 from the field, 4 for 6 from the free throw line. He was one guy on our team who really attacked the basket and got to the free throw line in just 15 minutes. 7 boards, certainly something that we've been hurting for with Eric Copes on the mend, and Johnny Williams hasn't particularly been a great rebounder this season. He snatches down 3 or 4 rebounds a game, but with Eric out hurt, or at least hurting, he's somebody who John Arledge has stepped up. I think he's a guy who has definitely stepped up and played some very good basketball.
Yeah, and I mean, again, goes back, we've kind of harped on this all show, but I think Hewitt needs to start thinking about who he's going to be putting into the starting lineup, and John Arledge definitely could be a new card to slide in to that starting lineup.
John Arledge for Johnny Williams. You heard it here first.
We're calling for it. Coach Hewitt, you better be listening.
All right, well, the next game for the Patriots is at Towson. We'll have our next broadcast here on the Courtside Seats post-game show January 31st when the Patriots take on the Drexel Dragons, the struggling Drexel Dragons.
Surprising, just confusing season this year.
Yeah,
very confusing.
1-4, I think, something like that. But we are out of time. Thank you very much to Jake McLearn and Brian Dombrowski for helping us out in the background today. Thank you for watching the Courtside Seats post-game show. We'll see you in a couple weeks.